Hello, and welcome to what I feel is going to be a highly exciting and interesting conversation today. My name's Nick Bell, and I have the wonderful pleasure today of having a conversation with one of my best friends in the world, Dr. Bjorn Lenz. Hello, Bjorn. How are you?
Oh, wonderful.
Um, Now, Bjorn and I have appeared on many videos together. There's a podcast that we do together. There's workshops that we create, online workshops, lots of different things. Um, but I'm particularly excited about this one because today we have a topic which I think could be transformational for anybody who watches this video. And what we're going to be talking about is an online study program which Bjorn has recently created, which was inspired by his recently published book, Rediscovering You Are God. So there's a nice big frame for you, Bjorn, a nice big setup. So let me just go straight in and open with a question. And I'm going to start by opening with a question about the book, and then I'm going to transition into the course at that point, if that's okay. So, if you had to summarize, like elevator pitch style, what your book is about, how would you do that?
The book is about realizing that we live in a reality that we create for ourselves. It's about the purpose of life, about understanding why we are here, and therefore finding fulfillment and joy in life. And there are so many aspects to that. Like, I cannot summarize the book with respect to the content, but one of the key things is everything that is created on the outside world is coming from our inside place. So when we wish to change something, when something bothers us in our life, or we just choose to change it, when we look inside, see where we're creating that for ourselves and change that, outside reality changes. And that is what I consider to make the experiencing of being God possible, in the sense of we can change outside reality through looking inside and through changing inside. We have unbelievable powers when we start to practice that. There's nothing that we cannot achieve because everything is just created by ourselves, through ourselves. And what the book does is it goes through a framework of understanding how to do that, what is achievable, and why.
So, helping us to remember and embody a position as God. So you've picked a pretty small topic there. Something every day, something quite mundane. No, I joke, of course. Um, okay, that sounds fascinating. I of course make assumptions and leaps of thought in my head now, but what would be the value for a person? What would be the purpose of going through this? I understand when you're talking about, our inner reality creates the outer reality, but what is the value of reading your book in relation to that? Like, am I going to finish that book and I'm going to understand how to alter my inner world in order to affect change in my outer world? Is it going to take me to that level of practicality and understanding? Is it a theoretical what if proposition? Like, what would my experience be of actually reading it and getting into that with you?
It always depends on what you choose. If you just read the book and put yourself separate from the book in the sense of, okay, that is something that I read, but it doesn't apply to me, the book will not change much. If you choose to engage with the book, do the exercises that are in there, and really open yourself up to the question, okay, this triggers something in me. What do I know? What do I know in the sense of you? Because the core is all the knowing that is presented in the book is nothing that is not already inside of you. The thing is to access it without being exposed to some ideas first is way more difficult than to read it and then realize that this is something that you already knew in your bones, in your cells, in your body. So life can change profoundly. Depending on where you are with respect to happiness, with respect to satisfaction in life, it can change your life completely. It can change your relationship to life. in the sense of finding a reason, finding joy. Or if you're a spiritual seeker, it can just allow you to let go of many paths that are just entertainment and go to a different place.
Awesome answer. And there's a piece in there, and I think that what I was pointing out was the practicality, because in the first answer you gave it, you gave it in a grounded way, but you're talking about something quite big, quite profound. And I loved your answer there because you talked about exercises and practicality, and I think that's really important because you're talking about a paradigm shift. Like for a lot of people, what you're talking about seems quite detached from the way that they see the world. Um, so I'm loving the answer there because the practicality of the exercises I think would be really important in anything like that. Otherwise, it just stays here, right? So we have the book. It sounds fantastic. What then inspired the creation of the course? Like, how is the course distinct from the book? What does it do differently? Like, if I had the book and I'd read the book, what would be the inspiration to then go and get the course?
The book is like the foundation. Like, what is the minimal required knowledge or understanding in order to figure everything out for yourself? And the course then goes to a different level. It is many layers deeper than the book, or it covers many layers, and some of them are way deeper than the book. There's a lot of understanding shared that is only touched on the book. For example, the relationship between the masculine and the feminine, or the question that is always everybody's favorite: if I am God, how does it come that people in Africa are starving? Stuff like that, like different questions that might come up, and there's just light shown on them. Another thing is the book has a vibration, but vibration in this reality is transmitted over sound, and therefore a lot more of what is in the book, where I'm not even saying that I put it there, that just happens to have evolved inside of the book, is in the video class, and you will experience receiving it in a different way. What happens is that if you watch the class afterwards, you might just feel completely different, or you might be completely tired, even though it was not that exciting. But the video class has the potential to change you if you're open to receive it. And it's not about the mind. Yes, the mind is entertained in the class. There will be many things in there that will be very thought-provoking for the mind. It is not about that. It is about embodying the knowing that you are God, playing a game with yourself on this world. And as we have been taught not to believe that, as from our early childhood years, we are taught this is you in your body, and you have to do this and this and this in order to achieve this and this and that. You have to go to school and learn, and then you have to get a job. And if you wish to get something, you have to really exhaust yourself or do everything that is necessary from this world's point of view. And the challenge is, as you said before, it's a paradigm shift. And a paradigm shift doesn't just happen by thinking. It is something that has to embodied, that has to be brought into every cell of the body, because our cells do a lot of our thinking together with the mind. And that is where the video course is just very supportive.
Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. I love the level of depth with which you explained that. So, and I'm really intrigued by this. I understood that as being, it's with the video, then there's also the transmission because it carries the vibration and the intention of the creator, almost the creator, the person who put it together. It carries the essence of the message. And so because I want to understand this a bit more. Like I like this. This as a concept is fascinating to me. So um, I know that there's an audiobook version of the book. Would that work in the same way? Because I understand the audiobook is read by you as well. So would that have the same kind of increased transmission? So if I were to buy the book and like, is there a different experience with the audiobook from a deeper level?
I got the feedback that it does, but from my point of view, the levels are completely different. In the sense of, yes, the audio version of the book makes a lot of sense. In the sense of there is a transmission in there. It is transformational. It might be very transformative to have it play at night just on a low volume because there is a vibration in there that is very transformative. But as I already mentioned, the video course goes a few levels deeper. It's more intense. It's a different quality.
I'm intrigued. The way you described the book at the beginning, it sounded pretty profound and intense. And, a video course is more intense. So I'm intrigued now. So when you say video course, because there's lots of different types of that out there. There's these big group study things, and you have to join many calls every single week, and other ones where you get a video every month or every week released to you, and other ones where you can just go in there and get done. So what's the structure around that? Like, and is there reason for you doing it that way?
Yes, the video course is self-paced. Like you can watch it however you like. And the idea is basically you read a chapter, you sit with that chapter for however it feels right for you. There are a few questions on most of the chapters that I invite you to ponder, to be with. And then you watch the video, and that will also do something with you. So it is a small book. It has about 100 pages. It could be read in an afternoon, except that feedback for most people is they didn't do that because it is too intense. It is too provoking, triggering. It creates energetic shifts, and therefore it takes time. How much time it takes for you, I cannot say. Like you might also read 2 chapters every day and then watch 2 videos with respect to those chapters on the next day and then read 2 chapters again. Or you might go through it in one day, both the chapters and the course. Well, that will be a bit challenging because I think there's about 14 hours of video content or something. But if you would ask me what is the most sense-making way to go through it, is be in connection with your body. Because your body goes through the deepest transformation in there. The way that this kind of transformation works is interesting in the sense of we only realize something has changed when our thoughts are different, when our mind suddenly creates a different reality, and we realize that reality is different through our mind. But the core shift doesn't happen in the mind, it happens in the body, and how the body works together with the mind. And the body, like, it also depends on your circumstances. When you are free to relax after reading it, going to the sauna and doing something for your body, it will be faster to be able to progress further than when you have a busy life where you're basically working all day and then you spend half an hour in the evening with a book. Then I suggest take more time or do what your body requires.
So I'm glad I asked that question because I didn't know what your answer was going to be, whether it was going to be, yeah, it's just do what you want, not really bothered. You seem like a more considered and conscious person than that, though. But I love this because it feels so well designed. There's a deep understanding of what people need to find that transformation. So it raises a query in my mind, which is in an ideal world, you have a conversation with somebody who's just graduated from the course. Like, what's the perfect response for you to get then? What's the perfect bit of feedback that would just light your heart up and be like, oh my God, that was all so worth it?
The short version of a response would be, oh my God, my life has changed. And I don't have any expectations. The course is an invitation to discover something that is true about you. And I see it as my purpose, my path, my task to invite people to discover something that is true about themselves, that gives them a lot of power inside of themselves, that can return them into a livelihood that they have forgotten, that they last experienced as children. I got one feedback for the book that I was very happy with that was basically in the direction of, now I realize what it means to embody God on this planet. And it's not like flipping a switch and then everything is easy, but it is a path. It is hard work sometimes, but it is endlessly fulfilling. And that is the invitation. Going through the course will not leave you at the end of a path, but at the beginning. And I'm here to hold your hand during a part of that way. But in the end, everybody has to walk their path the way that they choose to. And that would be the perfect feedback. Like, thank you for setting me onto a path that works for me in order to realize more of me.
Very nice. Very, very nice. And you said something in there which was got me thinking. You said you're here to support a person in this journey. And I just know from going through personal development and being involved in lots of different personal development activities and ventures in the last few years that often it's the support group that sits around a program or sits around a body of material, which helps the people actually go through it, which helps the people to get to the goal. Um, so is there anything like that? Like, is there any peer group that's built around this? Is there any way that the people can connect with others who are going through the same journey as they are?
Yes, there's a Facebook group, the Rediscovering Your God tribe, that has exactly that purpose, bringing people together who are on the same journey so that they can support each other. And I am there as well. And a peer group is very, very powerful. The illusion that we are alone is one that is very scary always. I'm not going into where that is coming from. But you are not alone. And whenever you go onto a journey, the fear of being alone, of being left out, the fear of losing whatever was dear in the old life is always there. And therefore, just knowing that there are people there that you can interact with is just beautiful. And whenever you're down and you put a post in the group, you will get energetic support. Whenever you're up, whenever you realize a little bit more, or whenever you have an experience of creating the reality in a way that is just astounding, where the universe just looks like a very big puppy that is willing to play with you, just share it in the group, and many others will be inspired to create more of that by themselves.
I like this. And you talked about, the experience of someone going through the feedback you'd like. It was very much around somebody getting clarity over who they are, over what they desire in life, over where their life is heading, if they don't desire in life, whatever it may be. And I love the combination of that direction of travel with the community, because the potential there seems huge for some absolutely incredible connections to occur. So, so the overall kind of overarching piece here is that both the book and the course guide a person through a process of really understanding what they truly are at the deepest level. So to play devil's advocate here, are there any negatives of doing that? of playing that game? Like, can it derail my life in any way? Because we're talking about something big, and we're talking about a paradigm shift of, I am just a bag of bones walking around the earth, or whatever the model of the world is, to I am God. I mean, that's quite a shift. And is there any challenge that comes with that? Any difficulties that occur in going through such a big shift in the way that we see ourselves in the world?
Yes, there are. Whenever you ask for more awareness, like the funny thing is, part of realizing that you are God, whatever you ask from the universe will be answered. And the more you allow yourself to receive the answers from the universe, the faster it will be. And when you ask for more awareness, what you will get is more awareness. When you transform yourself into more of you, everything that is not you, that you pretended to be part of you, or that just was in their life attached to you and didn't serve any purpose, will fall away. And that can be painful. When you ask for more awareness, and the realization that you are God is basically asking for the awareness. When you ask for more awareness, everything that is a lie in your life will show itself as a lie. Can that be painful? Yes. But the question is always, if you have the choice of always living in a little bit of pain, but being used to the pain so much that it doesn't really bother you, but still not really embracing life, or getting through a little bit of pain, going through a little bit of pain, and then realizing that there's another level to life, the question is, what would you choose? And if you are the kind of person that chooses the first option, there's nothing wrong with that. I cannot recommend reading the book then, though.
It's interesting. I kind of translate, it's a great example you give there. I translate this over to the physical. It's like a person who's avoiding exercise or always maybe improving their diet. Um, if they need to, because they don't want to push themselves outside their comfort zone and have to really train hard, they accept that they're going to have a life where their physicality might not be what it could be. But just stepping through that little bit of exposure to something a bit more intense takes them to a longer experience of something which is less stressful or painful. So I feel like you've explained this really beautifully from the individual perspective. I get it completely. Um, and I think it's really important as well, because if we look around society, just a little observation from my model of the world at least, if we look around society, confusion is rife. Confusion is the go-to tool for a lot of the media and everything. And we won't go down that rabbit hole. But I think that generally we live in a world where people would own up to the fact that at least in one or two areas of their lives they're confused. It's not as clear as it could be. Um, and what you're talking about here, this asking for awareness, like that's big. Like how everything that isn't in alignment, everything that doesn't serve you, I can't remember your exact words there, will show itself. And it's hard to look at it. It can be hard to let go of. But ultimately, we're clearing dirt off the windscreen so that we're able to see life, see ourselves, and see reality more clearly. So I really get it on the individual perspective. I think it sounds really amazing. I want to chunk that up now. I want to say that because I asked you what would be the ideal bit of feedback for an individual to give you upon completion of the course. Now let's take it to the next level. Let's imagine 10 years down the line, year on year, you're graduating 10 times more people as you did the year before. Year on year, you're getting the feedback that you talked about, that exact feedback. And this has created such a wave that it started to alter humanity. It started to change it. This paradigm that you speak of now starts to become more commonly adopted. Um, what do you think, what impact do you think that would have on the world if more people held this view and more people held this understanding?
That question is very deep and one that touches me emotionally. From my point of view, from my realization, like everybody creates their own reality through their inner world. And the reality that we share as a humanity is created by all of us together, also from our inner world. When you look at what happens with Earth, with all the stuff that is going on that I don't want to get into, but where the world seems to get scarier and scarier, and reality seems to be stranger and stranger. On the one hand, that is a beautiful development in the sense of the more heat is there on the earth, the more people are basically kicked into waking up. When you're completely dissatisfied with life, it will be easier to look at yourself and really discover yourself. Or as God says in conversations with God, sometimes it's good not to take away the pain too early. And these developments, or the economic developments that we will see in the next years, they just create pain as an invitation to wake up. But the way around the pain is exactly that most people look inside of themselves first. For example, many people care a lot about the environment. I do too. I love nature. Nature has a hard time, but in order to change how the world evolves with respect to nature, doesn't mean that we all have to become members of Greenpeace and sit on trees that are about to be cut down. What we can do is look at our love for the earth, look at our love for the nature inside, and see where we have selfishly disconnected from the earth. And when we heal that part of themselves, magically something around the earth changes. When we are willing to reconnect with the earth, support the earth from the inside, from the love that we have for it inside, and with the love that we have for ourselves, that we are willing to embrace the earth with, something changes on the outside. And that is exactly just one example that I see as possible when many people embrace discovering themselves, looking inside and healing all the wounds that they have and all the pain that they project outside of themselves that is just sitting in there waiting to be embraced, to be seen, and to be transformed.
It's not a secret that there are lots of challenges that we are collectively facing as a species right now. There are lots of different things going on. Now, again, this could be a beautiful part of the game. But my question is, what common global challenges that we face as a species do you believe we would overcome if we all adopted this new paradigm, this new way of thinking? In other words, what challenges that humanity are currently facing emanate from the fact that this is not the way that we see the world?
All of them. Like, if this is adopted widely, we will just evolve into a more conscious society. And this is not about a few people doing it or a few people not doing it, because societal beliefs are just something that go rampant through society. We will just evolve together, and everything will evolve differently. It's like when I say you're creating your outside world from the inside out, you could ask the question, yes, but what parts exactly? And the point is, all the parts. Of course, they are a little bit different in the sense of challenges with money have different reasons than challenges in relationships have different reasons than challenges with health. But in the end, it's all the same. They all happen from the inside out. And so there is nothing that is not changeable. There is nothing that will not dissolve itself when this body of knowledge is embraced on a broad level inside of humanity.
Deep. And is this your motivator? I mean, is this it? Because we've talked about like two really beautiful kind of end results here. We talked about the individual, the clarity that this changed my life, this demystified the landscape of my world, whatever the however they would say it. And we're talking about the grander impact on humanity. I loved your response. How many of the world's challenges? All of them. Okay. Leave nothing off the table there. Good work. Very efficient. But for you personally, what's the driver here? You know, or is it separate from these two things? Is it that that look in the individual's eye when you help that one person affect change in their life? Or are you motivated to take this material to the world because of the grander impact it can have on a societal level?
That is a wonderful question. And the answer is both and neither. When you've been in this body of work, when you've worked a lot with that, motivation happens differently. Like the feedback that I get when I work with people individually and I can see their life changing, of course, that creates joy inside of me and gratitude for the paths that I'm allowed to walk. Yet I also know that I'm just a little player in their game and I'm just an invitation and it's all about their choices. And the gifts that I give through being the invitation, I know that I'm giving those gifts to myself because there is no other. The idea that if many, many people receive the invitation and act on it, that then we live in a different reality, yes, that moves me emotionally, as I know that is the reason why I'm doing this work, yet it is not my target. I follow every day what I'm called to do every day, not with a goal in mind, but just in order to be an expression of what it means to be myself on this day. And that is all I can say about that. Like even in coaching, when I do personal coaching, when I'm sitting in front of somebody and I can totally see that they are there sitting in front of a choice, the choice of greatness or the choice of continuing in misery. And for me, it's completely obvious and easy and whatever, and they are struggling and I can support them with my whole heart. But in the core of my being, I know that that is just a choice. And the more I try to push them in order for them to choose greatness, the harder I make it for them. And that is why in that moment, I am only space. I am only holding the space for them to choose whatever they like to choose. And this allowance of them to choose whatever they wish to choose is what allows them to choose greater for themselves. But that also implies that I cannot have the opinion, geez, I hope that he or she chooses greatness so that I can feel good about myself. That doesn't work. So yes, my path is being the invitation as good as I can, but I'm not attached to any outcome, not on one person level, not on societal level. Yet I also know that the impact will be great.
And we're talking about big shifts, talking about a big old transformation here. And I can't think of many people that I know that wouldn't like conceptually to declutter their life and make their decision making clearer and whatever else comes with that. But if I'm watching this and I'm thinking, wow, that sounds incredible, but how do I know if I'm ready for such a big paradigm shift? Like, how would you respond to that? How does a person know that they're ready to rediscover this about themselves?
That is very easy because it's just a choice. In the sense of you can choose to be ready and do it, or you can choose to go through something else for a longer time. Like the game is set up in the way that first we are completely connected, then we are conditioned through society, through our parents, into forgetting everything. And then at one moment it makes click and we realize something else is possible and we start rediscovering our true self again. For some people, it doesn't happen until they are ready to die. And for some people, it happens earlier in life. And there's nothing wrong or right about being early or being late. Is there a moment in time where I think it's too early to start looking at those things? I don't think so. The thing is, if it calls you, great. If it doesn't call you, great. If your life is not meant to change, you will just go through the material and it will do nothing to you. I don't think that it's very plausible that that will happen. But the only thing that you have to ask yourself in order to know if you're willing to choose something greater or not is, am I willing to lose everything in order to become greater, receive greater, discover something greater? And the willingness to lose everything doesn't mean that you have to lose everything. It just means when you have attachments to things or people, so that you're scared at looking what is behind that, then you will not look behind that. And everything is always a choice. Also afterwards, when you realize that that you're living a lie, it doesn't mean that you have to change it. Just the awareness will make you hold it differently. And you can still choose to live in that lie, just with awareness, until you don't.
Now imagine, I was just about to say, imagine I'm a person. That's not too hard to imagine, I guess, but let me make it a bit more of a leap. Imagine I'm a person who's just completed the book, and I, I've had shifts with the book. What would you say is the best route forward from there? Would you say the best route forward is to be with the book? So I know you mentioned the book has the exercises and there's questions in there to reflect upon. So for a person who's had a big impact with the book, is it worth going through the book again? Or is this the exact reason why the course has been designed? So when a person gets to that level with the book, that's where the deeper immersion comes in. So because you mentioned the book being somewhat foundational. So is that the way that you see the relationship between the two pieces working?
It might make sense to go through the book once and then go through the book again with the course. It might make sense to go through the book once just directly with the course. It might make sense for somebody not to engage with the course at all and just go through the book, maybe many times, maybe once. The thing is, there are awarenesses in the book. The book is multi-layered in the sense of you will get it on a different layer each time that you go through. Is it required to go through many times? Nothing is required. The invitation for you is to change your life, and changing your life through your awareness. For example, there's a chapter about triggering that is a very relevant chapter. And after you've read the book and you're triggered in life, you still have the choice of just being triggered and seeing yourself as the victim of the circumstances, or realizing, hey, what is it that I'm telling myself? What is it that I'm not willing to look at? And what can I change inside of me here? And if you read the book and are not willing to engage with the work, it doesn't mean that nothing has changed. It just means that you choose not to engage in the work at the moment. And maybe reading the book again will change something about that. Maybe it doesn't.
You've kind of said this in a couple of different ways, but I actually want to round off the actual question and put it out there. Why would a person not read this book? Like if someone's sitting here and they're on the fence and they're thinking, what reasons would there be for a person not to pick this up? Like, are there some things that you can mention that a person could hear and say, oh yeah, I actually feel that way right now. That would mean it's not wise to pick up such a paradigm shifting book as this one.
Everything is choice, and the book is an invitation. So, for example, if you have strong beliefs about gods, if you have a lot of triggers with respect to somebody saying that they are God, or that even you are God as a person, if that strongly triggers you because you want to hold firm on beliefs around the Catholic Church or something, then I would say the book might be a rough ride for you. But then we are at the question, is that a good thing or a bad thing? When you have the belief that being pushed out of your comfort zone is a bad thing, and you have strong views about God, you probably won't have a lot of fun and joy with the book. Yet, would I then recommend you don't pick it up? No, because the thing is, how long do you wish to stay in that state? How long do you wish to experience exactly the experience that you are experiencing right now? And if you're happy with your experience, great. Then there's no reason to pick up the book. If sometimes you're happy and sometimes you're not, it's a choice. Many things are possible by engaging with the book. Nobody has to read it.
So I guess the final piece would be that if I've listened to this interview, this conversation, and I think I'm in, I want this paradigm shift. Is it sensible for me to get the book, complete the book, then consider the course? Or is it possible for me to come in and say, no, I want to get involved in everything from the word go and start in that way?
Yes, I would recommend getting the course directly with the book and just seeing what calls you in every step. For example, the introduction is not too intense. You can read the introduction and then use the video course to get an energetic deepening. And then there might be chapters that are already very intense. So you might choose to take more time, maybe read the chapter twice, and then I still would go for the video course. Yes. Get the book and the video course, just stretch it out over time.
Say, for example, I complete this, I have this big paradigm shift. I know you mentioned there's the Facebook group community where I can continue conversations, but does the journey with you go any further beyond there?
After the book, nothing is required. You can be on your own way. If you wish to continue your journey with me, that is possible. As it is described in the book, there is something that is called human design. That is, if you are God and you have to create thousands of humans every day, which are unique in their capacities and weaknesses, you will create a system. And that system is decoded in a body of knowledge that is called human design. And those weaknesses are where we amass a lot of our struggles, of our dirt on the windshield, as Nick would say. And this can be addressed very specifically for every individual given their birth date, birth time, and birthplace. And the next level is, on the one hand, spending time with me on calls, and on the other hand, going very systematically through their human design with respect to their human design, individual tappings, EFT, which is a very powerful method to decondition the body. And that is a program that takes about 6 months. And that is only viable after you have engaged with the book for some time.
I think from my side, I think you've shared beautifully in this conversation. I get a full understanding of this. I mean, is there anything that you'd like to say about the program, the book, the paradigm itself that my questions haven't afforded you an opportunity to say?
No.
Wonderful. Well, on that note, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure. For anyone watching, this video may appear in a few different places, but wherever it appears, we'll make sure there is a link below so you can go and find out about the book and follow on from the curiosity this call may have created within you. And you can always reach out to Bjorn directly and ask him any questions. I've said that, like I said it because I know he's an open guy, but depending on how many people watch this video, that could fill his phone for the next 6 months. I say it cautiously. But Bjorn, thank you.
And if you're just listening to this, the internet address where you can get the book is godbook.info.
Okay, see you soon.